Okay, so picture this. You're standing in the checkout line at the supermarket. You've got your stuff. You're just trying to get home, but the line is not moving at all. And right in front of you are two people just dissecting a tabloid cover.
Oh, I know this scene.
The whole 9 yards. A Hollywood scandal, who's cheating on who, the messy divorce. You're a captive audience.
You didn't subscribe to the podcast, but you are listening to the episode live.
Exactly. You are physically stuck. And that specific moment, that friction between the noise of the world and your own peace of mind, is really the starting point for today's deep dive.
It is. We're looking at a really interesting piece of source material from Pastor Hu Zikang.
Sometimes called Tiger Strong Pastor.
Right. And the message is titled Noise versus Commitment, or sometimes you see it translated as Clamor versus Devotion. And the date is key. It's February 14th, 2026.
Which is Valentine's Day. Yeah, but for this context, it's also the start of the Lunar New Year holiday in Taiwan.
And that's not just a long weekend. We're talking about a 9-day stretch of intense family time.
A marathon.
Total marathon. So this source, it's a religious devotional, sure, but it's also kind of a survival guide.
A survival guide for a high-pressure family holiday. I love that. So our mission today is to pull out those universal nuggets. We'll look at our media diet, the anatomy of a successful relationship.
And my favorite part, the actual tactical advice for surviving dinner table politics.
It's the difference between just getting through the holiday and, actually using it to become a stronger person.
Exactly.
So let's go back to that supermarket line. Pastor Hu describes this exact scene, and he has this internal reaction that it really struck me.
He does. He first admits he can't just, close his ears. The input is forced on him. But then he questions the quality of that input. He literally asks himself, why let this garbage disturb my peace?
He uses the word garbage. That's a strong word.
It is. But he's talking about the information, not the people. It's like if someone tried to force feed you literal trash, you'd be sick. He's saying information works the same way.
And he looks at the subjects of this gossip, these idols, and notes that their lives are often, in his words, sinful or foolish.
Yet we're obsessed with them.
Right. So he offers this pivot. He says instead of staring at that, we should be learning from people with noble and elegant character.
Which sounds great, but noble and elegant character doesn't usually make the front page of a tabloid.
True. But I think his point is about who you're modeling your life after. He says if you try to model your marriage on Hollywood standards, you're basically signing up for disaster.
Because the Hollywood standard is often just dysfunction with really good lighting.
That's a good way to put it.
If your blueprint for romance is constant drama, you're going to replicate that in your own living room. And real life doesn't get a director's cut. It just falls apart.
So he contrasts that with what he calls standards from heaven, which is really just virtues, right? Patience, selflessness, things you can build on.
It's the garbage in, garbage out principle, but for your soul.
That leads perfectly into the next section, which is about the anatomy of a successful relationship. The source text is 1 Peter 3. Now, some of that language can be a little tricky for modern ears.
Sure, it can be, but if you look at how Pastor Hu frames it, he's really focused on the mechanism of influence. The text describes a husband who isn't really on the right track.
And the advice to the wife isn't lecture him until he gets it.
Which is our default, right?
Totally.
But the text says he can be won over without a word, by her conduct. It's character over rhetoric. Who you are is more powerful than what you say.
But then he flips it to the husbands, and this is where I think the deep dive just strikes gold. He quotes a friend of his, psychiatrist.
This part is incredible. The psychiatrist says that for a husband to imitate Jesus isn't just about being religious. He defines it as the beautiful combination of power and gentleness.
Power and gentleness. Let's just park there for a second.
Yeah.
Because our culture usually sees those as opposites.
A total binary. You're either the tough guy who gets things done, or you're the nice guy who's maybe a little ineffective.
Right. You're respected or you're liked.
But this beautiful combination rejects that. I mean, think about it. Power without gentleness is just tyranny.
It's the boss everyone's afraid of, the father who rules by intimidation.
Exactly. And gentleness without power.
Well, that can be seen as weakness, right?
Yeah.
You might be loved, but maybe not trusted to handle a real crisis.
So the goal, the real sweet spot, is holding both in tension, having the strength to handle anything, but choosing to handle people with care.
And he's clear that you have to work at it. It's not something you just wake up with.
No, you don't accidentally stumble into it. It takes commitment. There's that word again. Noise is easy. Character is hard.
Okay, so we've cleared the mental garbage. We're aiming for power and gentleness now. We have to walk into the fire. The 9-day family holiday.
The gauntlet.
The gauntlet, yes. The source is recorded on day 1 of the Lunar New Year. And Pastor Who has this list of don'ts.
Oh, yeah. He comes out swinging. He says, don't waste this time. First targets are gambling, specifically mahjong, and video games.
He calls it meaningless consumption. And I have to admit, I felt a little attacked there. I love a good veg-out session.
We all do. But his point is deeper. He talks about activities that drain the body and soul. You know that feeling after you've been scrolling for like 6 hours straight?
Yes. You feel like a zombie, your brain is foggy, you're not rested, you're just depleted.
That's it. That's the state he's warning against. But the bigger danger he highlights is the social minefield.
The dinner table conversation.
Where peace goes to die.
He uses this phrase, torn face. That's such a vivid translation.
It is. Face is dignity, it's the relationship. A torn face is a rupture. When an argument gets so bad, you can't go back to normal.
And he lists the exact topics that cause it. The stock market, economics, and politics.
Which are the only things people seem to talk about at family gatherings. Did you see the market? Can you believe what he said?
And here's where Pastor Hume drops this huge psychological insight. He says people living in echo chambers cannot understand the outside world.
He basically uses that term, yeah. He says people are locked in their own information bubbles. And if you think you're going to persuade your uncle with a few clever sentences over dumplings...
You're delusional.
You're delusional. That is such a hard reality check. We all think, if I just explain the facts...
They'll see the light.
And he says, no, they won't. You can't deprogram 30 years of belief between the appetizer and the dessert. You just get conflict. You get a torn face.
So what's the strategy? Because just sitting there biting your tongue for 9 days sounds painful.
His strategy is the detour.
The detour? Explain that.
When you run into that difficult relative, the one with the stubborn temper, you just don't engage. You don't step into the boxing ring.
I remember that metaphor. Don't turn the living room into a ring.
Exactly. The detour is strategic. You sidestep it. You change the subject. You keep it light.
But doesn't that feel like losing? Like you're just letting them win with their bad takes?
That's your ego talking. Pastor Who would ask, what's the goal? Is it to be right? Or is it to protect the peace of the family?
The commitment is to the relationship, not the argument.
That's the power and gentleness in action. You have the power to win the fight, but you have the gentleness to spare the family the fallout.
So you treat them like a roadblock. You don't crash into them.
You drive around them. You prioritize the atmosphere over the issue.
Okay, so we've survived the supermarket. We've navigated the dinner table. Now we have all this downtime. What do we do?
Well, first, he's very strict about not just sleeping until you wake up naturally.
Which is tragic news for me, because that's my favorite holiday sport.
I know, but he makes this distinction between rest and laziness. He pushes for what you might call active rest. The phrase he uses is washing the soul.
Washing the soul.
Yeah.
It's poetic, but what does that actually look like?
It's about mental and spiritual hygiene. He says, you wouldn't go 9 days without washing your body, so why go 9 days without cleaning your mind? He suggests reading, learning, reflection.
And he gets super practical. He says to make a literal list, an inventory.
Yeah, a battle plan. He says to write down 2 things. First, admit the mistakes of the past year. Clear the slate.
And the second thing?
New hopes, new visions. Set a target and then move forward.
I really like that reframing. We usually treat holidays as an escape from life. He's saying to treat it as preparation for life, like a training camp.
Exactly. Imagine if you viewed your time off that way. You wouldn't go back to work just rested.
You'd be upgraded.
You'd be upgraded. And he says a holiday spent like this brings warmth to people around you. A lazy one is just a waste. A strategic one makes you a source of heat for your whole family.
A source of heat. I love that image. You become the person who warms the room instead of the one who tears the face.
It connects everything. The noise is the gossip, the arguments. The commitment is the discipline to filter that stuff out and choose warmth and gentleness instead.
It's a whole ecosystem. You filter your input, you balance your relationships, you detour around conflict, and then you use the quiet moments to reset.
And none of it happens by accident. That is the key. The noise is automatic. The world will shove it in your ears.
Commitment requires.
Well, commitment.
You have to choose it. Over and over.
So here's the thought we want to leave you with. Most of us don't have a 9-day holiday coming up, but we all have weekends. We have evenings.
We all have the next 48 hours.
If you saw your next bit of free time not just as a pause, but as battle preparation for your character, if you had to wash the soul, what would you actually change?
What would you have to put down? Is it the phone? The controller? The urge to correct someone on the internet?
And what would you pick up instead? A book, a pen and paper, maybe a difficult but gentle conversation.
It really just comes down to that choice, noise or commitment.
It really does. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Hopefully it helps you navigate whatever noise is coming your way this week.
Take care of yourself.
See you next time.